Coming up next is Week in Review, Shipshape version for February the 23rd, 2011. And in it, I'm going to go over 20 books that shipped this week. And you're going to get not one, but two covers of the week from me. Coming right up, right after this. Lots of stores can make lots of claims about themselves, but only I can make the claim that nobody has ever paid full price for a new comic here at Alternate Reality. Since 1994, every new comic that's walked out the door has been discounted 15% off. So if you want to save 15% off your new comics, there's only one place to come, and that's Alternate Reality.
Video Outhouse will now take a look at last week. Will you just flush it already? It's really gross.
Boy Wonder? I'm all man, lady!
The Outhouse crew will now re-review last week's comics just for you. Hey, was I rapping? Comic Book Man will now take a look back at the week that was, February 23rd, 2011.
Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome once again to my Video Outhouse. It's time for Week in Review, and this is the Week in Review for February the 23rd, 2011. This is the Shipshape portion of Week in Review where I go over some of this week's shipping, some of the highlights, some of the lowlights, some of the stuff that you want to be aware of for the week of February the 23rd, 2011. First up this week, we've got Marvel Comics. Marvel had a couple of books this week that they shipped that you may want to be aware of, first issues and milestone issues, which were fairly interesting, fairly good, and fairly important in the history of Marvel Comics. First up is Iron Man 2.0, which came in not one, but two lovely covers. This is Jim Rhodes interjecting himself into the Iron Man universe. I don't know if you saw Iron Man 2, but War Machine is kind of important in Iron Man 2, and Marvel doesn't really have a War Machine book out there right now, so they said, let's get a War Machine book out. But nobody buys it when it's called War Machine. What do? Oh, we'll call it Iron Man 2.0. That way people think it's Iron Man 2. So there you go. Two birds with one stone. Anyway, this reintroduces Rodney Jim Rhodes to the Marvel Universe. He's got the War Machine armor on. You see him talking with the military because he, after all, he's a military man. What his new mission is in the Marvel Universe via the military. I've sort of read it. I skimmed through it. Actually, I got about 5 or 6 pages into it, and I started to get a little sleepy, so I skimmed through the rest of it. It looks an awful lot like Jim Rhodes is being assigned to fight supervillain Al-Qaeda level terrorist threats in the Marvel Universe. So there you go. That shipped this week. Also this week, we had Hulk going to the Savage Land. Hulk took a journey down to Kazar Savage Land, and all this is going to be setting up Scar, who is going to become King of the Savage Land at some point. Which is a miniseries, I believe, 4 issues, I think I saw in the solicitation. But Scar, King of the Savage Land, is coming up. I'm sure that will come out of this. But anyway, this is by Greg Pak and Dale Eaglesham, who have been working on the book now for a while. And the art is very pretty in this book. Very pretty. Also, on the X-Mutant side of the Marvel Universe, we had Astonishing X-Men and X-Men Legacy, which is the first chapter of the Age of X storyline. This is Chapter 1. Chapter 2 also came out this week in Uncanny X-Men, and Chapter 3 came out in New Mutants as well. In Astonishing X-Men, they go to the Pacific Rim, and they're going to be running into a big, giant Japanese monster at some point. Not Godzilla, but akin to that. Marvel has its own giant monsters running around from the 50s and early 60s. They're going to run into them. We covered this sort of in Marvel News already. You're going to have 2 creative teams on this book. This team and a second team, and both of them are going to be working their storylines, which will be separate from each other, together to ultimately join up with each other. So this team is going to be in one part of the Pacific Rim, and the other team is going to have another part of the X team in another part of the Pacific Rim, and they're both going to meet up with one another. In the Age of X storyline, this is not Age of Apocalypse as we've talked about before. This is Age of X. Marvel's got 86,000 Earths. They can have as many varieties on Age of Apocalypse as they want with 86,000 Earths. But this is a future dystopic version of the Marvel Universe where mutants have been hunted down to almost extinction, and this is essentially their last stand. It's the Age of X. Last 2 books I want to talk about from Marvel are these 2, which have an awful lot in common. Fantastic Four number, God, I can never remember the numbers on the FF. 588. This is the last issue of the Fantastic Four, and this issue of Amazing Spider-Man, which is 655. These are both silent issues. There's very little, if no, dialogue throughout most of these issues. Both of these issues have something in common in that they both mourn someone who's died. Johnny Storm over here. Over here, J. Jonah Jameson's wife, who got killed recently. Bo!
Yes?
Remember where she got killed at?
No.
Okay, moving on. He is of no use at all when I need him. He's always mouthing off when I don't want him, but when I do want him...
killed in the last story arc by one of
thank
the
you.
Spider Slayers. Don't you read the comics you sell? What's wrong with you?
I've been avoiding Spider-Man ever since they retconned everything Straczynski did out of existence. But anyway, I didn't read this because there's no dialogue in it. I flipped through it, and it's very good. It's very good. It's very poignant. It's sort of a recap of Spidey's history, but not really. It's also a recap of J. Jonah Jameson's recent life, but not really, because there's no dialogue in the thing, and they bury Jonah's wife in this. In this one, you actually have two stories going on. You've got the burial of Johnny, which is the silent one, and then the Amazing Spider-Man shows up and has a heart-to-heart with Franklin, who really misses his uncle Johnny, and Spidey misses Johnny too because they were pals, and they go out and they have a hot dog together, which actually reads a lot better than I'm making it sound. But anyway, this came out this week, and it's well worth taking a look at. DC shipped some books this week. Unfortunately, they didn't ship anything really of note. A lot of middle-of-the-story stuff that came out this week. Second parts, third parts, fourth parts of ongoing storylines. Two books, though, stand out for this week. First one is Justice League Generation Lost, The Rise and Fall of Max Lord. This tells you everything you ever wanted to know about Max Lord and what his motivation is for doing everything that he does. They lay it all out in this book. And it's all because his dad committed suicide, and I'm not giving anything away. It happens in like the first page and a half. His dad committed suicide because his dad once upon a time was in charge of a chemical company, which it turned out was causing people cancer. The company tried to bury it. The dad felt bad about that, so bad in fact that he killed himself. And from that point on, Max and his mom made it their cause in life to acquire as much power as they possibly could in order to do good. And the philosophy they both adopted as well was, you know, sometimes you have to break some eggs to make an omelet, and sometimes you got to crush some good guys in order to get to the ultimate good. There's more to it than just this, but if you were wondering what was going on in this book, this is the issue to get. This is the pinnacle issue to get in this whole storyline. Also this week, they shipped Gotham City Sirens number 20. Joker shows up to give the Sirens a hard time. First time Joker has actually appeared in this book, and it'll be interesting to see how he interacts with Harlequin and the rest of the girls from Gotham City. Indies! IDW shipped True Blood, brand new story arc, Tainted Love, with not one, but two covers. 50-50 split on the covers. This starts the new story arc in True Blood. I'm not following True Blood, can't tell you what's going on, but people who buy the book have gotten back to me about it, and they've said, hey, just like the last one, it's pretty good. So, there you go. Also from IDW, Transformers has a movie coming out this summer. It involves Transformers on the moon. And guess what? When you're doing that, you promote the hell out of it. Hey, Transformers Dark of the Moon Foundation and Transformers Dark of the Moon Rising Storm. These are two miniseries that are coming out to specifically tie in with the movie. Both of them shipped their first issues this week. And if you like Transformers, the movie series, you really should pick these up. And actually, I don't care much about Transformers, but these are actually pretty nice covers. I like the covers on these. I still don't care about Transformers, but the cover art's pretty nice on these. Over in Image. Image had two books of note this week. Whoop, excuse me. Spawn, Architects of Fear. This was a first day sale book here at the store. It was 40% off. If you came down and picked it up, you didn't pay $6.99 for this book. You paid $4.20, I believe, was the price, 40% off. This is done by the same folks who did Spawn Simony, which was a one-shot that came out a couple of years ago. European folks put this together. Todd packaged it up, and he's released it as this special. Also this week is The Mission number 1. What you need to know about this is the second book from Collider Entertainment, which is also done this book, Halcyon. That was their first outing. Halcyon got very, very good reviews and has sold quite well. This is their second outing into comic book publishing, The Mission. This is not a superhero thing per se. This is more of a detective one-on-one human level street crime story. And haven't read it, but you might want to check it out. It supposedly has gotten good reviews. Not getting good reviews is Blue Water and their life story of Beyonce. This is another Blue Water biography, and if you like Beyonce, you probably want to avoid this. Also from Blue Water is 10th Muse manga. That's right, 10th Muse is such a vital, important part of the Blue Water universe that it has to have a manga issue. Once upon a time, 10th Muse was actually Sable from the WWE. That's who the character is patterned after. That's who the character is supposed to look like. Sable actually doubled for her on the covers, and that happened a long time ago, and we are well down the road from that. Also, they shipped VSS Nemesis Rising versus Gears. Hey, chicks with guns. That's all you need to know about this. Chicks with guns. If you like chicks with guns, pick it up. Last thing we got is a handful of indies from Dark Horse. King Conan #1. The Conan series is over with at Dark Horse, but the King Conan series is just beginning. This was the first of the ongoing series for King Conan, issue 1 of the Scarlet Citadel story arc. If you're a big Barbarian fan, they also shipped Cull #4 this week. So they had 2 Robert E. Howard books, Cull and King Conan. If you're a Robert E. Howard fan, you better hop on this right now. This sold quite well. Also, we had Abyss #1 from Red 5. This is the second big franchise over at Red 5, the first being Atomic Robo. Abyss is the second big franchise that Red 5 has. And we're going to wrap it up with my favorite book of the week, Crossed. This, what can you say about this? The cover says it all. I gave this book to Sweet Dan to review, and he said, do I have to, really? And it's not because Dan is squeamish. He flipped through the book. It's not until page 5 before you hit a plot. Seriously, you flip through this book, there's like no dialogue until page 5. It's just buckets and buckets of blood pouring out of people's heads and people's throats and people's necks. And then on page 5, you get your first dialogue, which, boom, you hit the plot. So, there you go. Crossed, and this with the head cut off. I'm going to keep this book up here for a minute because last week, if you remember, I initiated Comic Book Man's Cover of the Week. And in Comic Book Man's Cover of the Week, last week, I picked Night of Living Dead. Night of Living Dead. Night of Living Dead. It was a blonde busting open the back of a zombie's head with a crowbar. Okay? And I said, my criteria for books for Cover of the Week are either artistically, it has to be something that really catches my eye and is outstanding, or it has to be goofy as all get out. This is goofy as all get out. And I actually have 2 of them. There's a tie this week. This, lean it forward. What can you say about this book? You have crossed teachers putting kids down a slide into a wood chipper, splitting out blood and guts on the other end on a guy who's reading a book who's also crossed. This is just some absolutely goofy, off-the-wall, sick, twisted stuff. This is absolutely just nuts. My second book of the week, because I said there were 2, you've already seen. It's this. I really like this cover. This isn't the goofy one. This is the artistic merit one. I really like the cover. I really like the way Negative Space works here against Spidey. I like the colors being inversed. You would think that the red would be blood in this, but seeing as how it's a funeral issue and his costume is gone from the blues to grays and the colors are inversed, the red signifies mourning more than it does terror or blood or anything like that, unlike Crossed, which you just saw. Normally, I'm not a big fan of white covers because I think they're just lazy covers, but this is one instance where it really, really works well. So kudos to Marvel on this cover. I really liked it. And that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. That's this week's shipping. Now it's time to go over to Join the Boys, and I've got 2 of them today. Join the Boys, and we're going to do a little shop talk, but be sure to look for that on Facebook or on the store's website. And, of course, where's the store's website at? The little girl knows.
www.myalternatereality.com. Relentless.
So stop off at the store's website, check out all the shop talks that we've done, and until next time, this is Comic Book Man saying I'm off to have a little shop talk.
The Video Outhouse is brought to you by some of the finest people willing to work for free. This is a list of some of them.